Hi, it's Ricky from Moshville Times here once again. This time I'm delighted to welcome Glasgow-based heavy metal band, or they're verging on thrash as well, or do you call them thrash heavy? I don't know. Maybe they can tell us. They are called Nocturne Wulf. I'm delighted to welcome vocalist Booby and rhythm guitarist Jamie. So how are you guys doing? How have you been since lockdown? Everybody been okay? Your job's okay and all that?
Yeah, okay, to be fair. I think it's been quite lucky. It's still been employed from the start of the first lockdown till now. So I'm in a better position than a lot of other people. So yeah, things are looking more positive now, which is great. So
yeah, are you
not like Jamie? Jamie's been a trooper. He's been working right way through non-stop, to be fair. So.
Yeah, it's been pretty just kind of my line of work. I've not stopped once, so it's been quite a tough time. It's been pretty intense.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that your jobs are fine and things like that. But Booby, are you going back to work, or are you working from home?
So I'm kind of doing a mixture. I'm kind of my job's kind of out on the road, so I've been kind of part time for a wee while. But like I say, I'd rather at least I've got a job anyway. I'm quite happy with that, you know. Quite lucky.
I mean, I myself was made redundant last year, but I was quite lucky in getting another job a few days later. But you've just got to thank your graces and keep on going. But listen, we're not here to talk about this. So with the lockdown then, and with your debut self-titled album being released in July 2019, have you guys been using this time constructively and written more songs?
Yeah, well, it was funny because at the beginning, when the lockdown was first announced, we had just played a gig, maybe about, rightly or wrongly, but 10 days before the lockdown. It happened. We actually did a tour. Now, that actually at the time was with the previous singer. Now, just to kind of put things into perspective, we had a previous singer. We had Bob, and then one of the singers came in for a few months, and then Bob came back. So he was almost like a placeholder, David Yates. So he was with us at the very tail end of that final tour, and then the 10 days happened, and then we obviously went into like the full lockdown. Your full country's in lockdown, and I remember saying to the full band at the time, I said, "Look, our biggest problem was we would gig all the time, so we're constantly gigging, so we're constantly thinking about what set list are we going to do. Let's rehearse the set list. Let's rehearse the set list." So we were always quite bad at getting new songs in the go. So basically, the lockdown's been great for me because I've got, I was like, I've got all this time, so I can, play these songs and do. So, I mean, for me personally, this has been a golden opportunity to basically sit and work on music and not have no pressure, no time constraint. It's been great for me personally. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So, Booby, is Jamie the type of guy that will send you like a riff at 4 o'clock in the morning and things?
Yes, yeah, that you must have access to my phone, I think, because that's happened. Yeah, he'll say we've got a band drive that we can access. So if the guys like Jamie or Chris are the main kind of writers, and they can record in house, and so they'll come up with something, put it on the drive, and then Jamie will say, "Right, have a listen to this." 9 times out of 10, it's bang on the money, to be fair. So we've got very similar music styles. We're lucky to meet each other, and so basically, 99% of what Jamie sends over, I like it, but yeah, it does happen like that, to be fair, doesn't it, Jamie?
Yeah. I think the thing is like I'm quite bad because the way that I can approach these things is I like to send a complete package. So if I say I'm not very good at I will send stuff at ridiculous times in the morning, but it'll be, here's a full song. Yeah. Like I'm not really into kind of going, oh, here's a riff. Like I'm like, here's a full song and here's how it should kind of roughly sound, and then it's like poof, then it goes into like the Nocturne Wulf ether. And then it's like, then what happens. But I always like to give here's a kind of basis of the full song, and then things will all change. Drums will change, guitar bits will change. I don't know. I like to be like, right, here's something we can work with everything, and then do it that way.
So what if you send it at 4 o'clock in the morning and the guys go, nah, we don't like it?
Then
You
I don't think anybody's been brave enough to say that yet, have they?
Well, there has been a few opportunities. It doesn't tend to be like, I don't like that full song. It might be like, that section's just all wrong. There's been times where, you know, like I struggle with going between doing the super thrashy thing and then doing the kind of big choruses. So it's like, you know, which one do you go with? And sometimes some songs are better having the more aggressive, some are better to be a bit more sing-alongy. And there's times where Bob will say, no, that chorus is not, no, you've not done that right. That's that, no. And I'm like, right, okay. So I need to, you know, reassess then. So it generally tends to be more like changing bits rather than just deleting a whole song. I don't think we've quite got to the stage of going, yeah, that song is literally awful, ditch that. I don't think.
No, not yet.
Or at least, at least no one said it yet.
No.
Maybe they think
it. Just talk about you behind your back. But anyway, yeah. But you mentioned there that we all know that, Booby, you were in the band and you left the band for a few months and things. Did you have like itchy feet? Did you think you would join another band, or would it only be if the opportunity arose again with Nocturne Wulf, or nothing? Yeah,
exactly. I wouldn't have went anywhere else, to be fair. So kind of, it's one of those decisions that I don't know if I put it on record publicly, but I regret kind of leaving. At the time, I think what I needed was, I was a bit like a James Hetfield character. I kind of needed a few months just not doing anything.
Yeah.
But the whole ethos of the band is basically relentless, kind of a train that just keeps going and it doesn't stop for fuel, and it keeps moving. And I was kind of like one of the main drivers of that. So when for me, it was like Jamie, I need to call it quits here, because I can't halt the progress of the band, because I need a couple of months off, say, for example. So,
yeah.
And it pretty much as soon as I'd done it, I went, oh yeah, and I wished I'd never done it. And first chance I got, it was straight back in. So yeah.
But things happen for a reason, you know, and when you got back in, you must have felt like revitalised and you had twice the energy that you had before towards the end of
your Yeah. I mean, when I first came into the band the first time, the guys had just started for about a year maybe, and there wasn't much going on in terms of gigs or whatever. And I don't know if it was just me or me influencing the rest of them, but we just took off because we just started doing stuff. Because I turned around at them and says, look, I'm a wee bit older than them. And I said, look, I'm no point joining a band if we're not going to gig. That's the whole point of being in a band. So I think 3-4 weeks after I joined the band the first time, we played our first gig. And then it never stopped after that. It just went crazy. But that's the whole point. That's the whole point of being in the band, though, you know.
It must be some kind of adrenaline rush when you're singing the songs and you just see people just reacting to it and seeing big crowds and stuff like that. I mean, I know that you've been to Metal and Masses final and things, so that must have been such an adrenaline rush, such a feeling. I wish I could do it.
It was good. It was good if I could. I think we were kind of early in our growth period at the time. We'd done well to get into the final, but it wasn't part of the plan for that year. Yeah. We entered it because Chris had joined the band in the 23rd of December and the first round was the 6th of January. And we thought, bugger it, we'll get him a gig. And then it just kept going from there. And I think the age of the band that we are now, if we were to do that gig all over again, it would be a completely different set. It would be a completely different gig. Yeah. But it's in history anyway, it's done, and I think it's just kind of, it's good to have on the CV, you know. It took us from a midweek band into a weekend band, which was noticeable straight away. We networked with a lot of different bands, especially locally, and then further afield, and then you meet more people, you get invited along to support things, and before you know it, you're headlining King Tut's.
That's right.
And it just kind of, it's like, Christ, where did that come from? You know, it's brilliant.
All the hard work's paying off, so keep it going, well done.
Exactly.
So Jamie, how many songs would you say is completely written, and how would you say the new material compares to your debut album, for example?
So what do you mean by the first? How many songs are you mean new songs have been written?
New songs, yeah.
All right. I think probably, I mean, the problem is like I've got a really bad habit of writing a song, putting it into the ether, and then going and forgetting about it. Do you know what I mean? So then it's like, right, that's that done. Right, on to the next song. Right, that's that done. So I mean, I'm not saying we've got millions of songs, but I mean, you're probably, I mean, we easily have got the next album written. You know, that's, you know, and probably a wee bit beyond that. You know, there's a lot of songs and there's a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
So in terms of, you know, I mean, I think probably the new songs maybe are a wee bit more aggressive. It's like everything in life though. See, the more you do something, I think the better you become at it. You know, songwriting is the same. You know, you've got a set of 10 songs that you've done in the first album, and you go, oh, do you know what? I think they were all right.
Yeah.
But you learn a lot. It's like recording the album. You know, would we do things differently next time? Yes. You know, it's like playing guitar after you've done your first gig. You think, oh, wish I'd done something else. It's a learning process. So I feel as if, you know, when you're doing the second batch of songs, you think, right, we've got the experience and know how to kind of do these things. You're then thinking about how these are going to transpire into being live.
Yeah.
As well. So you need to think about that. So I mean, every single band says the same thing. They go, oh, how's your new stuff? And you go, oh, it's so much better than your old stuff. But I think there's probably just a slight more maturity and more of a thought process goes through it. Because I think when you're doing your first album, you're just like all guns blazing, but you're not really thinking about things. Like you're not thinking, oh yeah, that section goes on for far too long. Do you know what I mean? You're a bit more.
I would say the newer songs are more diverse than the first album though, because essentially the first album was your baby really in terms of writing. You know, most of those songs were already written before likes of me and Chris came into the band. So I think, you know, Chris has obviously put a few songs down now, and he's got a different influence to yourself. Mm-hmm. And for me, I can hear it before I kind of joined the band again. I was kind of going up to the studio and listening, and I was like, oh, I don't recognise that. It doesn't sound like Nocturne Wulf, but it was just a different influence on it.
Yeah.
So that I think people will notice that. It might be quite slight. It might not be noticeable at all, but for us, it is definitely.
You're not bringing your glam metal influences into the sound, are you?
Who's?
No, I'm only kidding.
Oh, don't talk to me about glam metal. I need to live with that stuff all the time. My partner's right into all of that. She's obsessed with it.
See, to be honest with you, I'm a more extreme metal fan as well. But listen, every rose has its thorn, and we all had time for Motley Crue, girls. We all did. If you say you didn't, you're a liar. So.
Oh no. Well,
you see, it's just sorry, on you go.
I was just gonna say it's definitely a different type of like hard rock, heavy metal. You know, Guns N' Roses. There's a good halfway medium between the two.
Yeah, cool.
You know,
cool. So, when was the last time that you guys actually got to meet in the studio then?
Now that's a good question. So that would have been. Now, let me get this right. I think it would have been sometime in December. I think was when we had our it was the last lockdown started.
It was whenever the tier 3 year wasn't it? It was,
yeah, it might have been actually November now. I can't remember if it was November or December. It was around about that time that we were all in. But the problem was I think we knew it was coming. Let me just get this right. I think we knew it was coming, so we were all like, oh, well, that's it, lads. We're not going to see each other for, you know, what we thought was maybe, until after Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, turns out 4 months down the line, almost 5 months, you're like, yeah, that was ages ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, did you manage to get a good 4 or 5 months run where you can meet every fortnight, every week or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we really tried to kind of hit it as hard as we could. Like I said, because I think, am I right in saying that I think we were allowed to do it from about June, July? I think it was around about then. So from that point, so it was a bit of a weird transit, right? So quite a lot happened. So obviously June, July happened. We had a bunch of new songs. We started jamming them. We kind of got them up to speed. But then around about sort of September time, was when, was it September or was it August? August, September, when basically the previous singer had kind of said to me, look, he said, look, I'm not, my heart's not in this. And that's when obviously Bob was like, oh, I want to be kind of part of this, and like, right, great, this works out really well. So it was a transition. So we rehearsed a bunch of new songs, and then Bob came in, and then we kind of had to start look at them again.
Yeah.
And then obviously we split up before the Christmas, and then we had another member change. So we had Stephen Strachan, who was in the band. He left, and then we brought in Mark. So I think we have had one practice with Mark. Is that right? Is it one practice? I think it was only one. If that
proper one, yeah.
So it's a bit of a kind of crazy scenario to be in.
Yeah. So who was it that done the drums on the remastered single Troll Hunter?
So that would have been. So what we did was we took the original track when it was originally recorded, and we basically kind of spiced it up from there. So it was kind of taken from that, because obviously when we were in lockdown, we couldn't physically. I mean, I suppose we could have recorded stuff, but we didn't have the technology to record drums in that. So it's not as you said, it's a remaster rather than a re-record.
Yeah.
There's a few wee tweaks that we kind of had, we kind of changed around. It was more just the idea of it was because I thought, well, short song, let's get it out there. It's only less than 3 minutes. We thrash song. We're not kind of released a thrashy kind of song. Bang, let's go with that one. So that was that.
I was actually wondering if it was Mark that had, or that was Mark that was playing the drums in that one, because you can certainly notice a difference in the speed of the drumming in the remastered version, and that's why when you said earlier about you can see a wee bit more of an aggressive side to the new songs, I was wondering if this was Mark's influence coming in. But
yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's right. So Mark's a really interesting character, right? Because he is, because when it comes to music, so I mean, I do like all kind of types of music. I like a big range of music, but if all music's kind of like here, the problem is that heavy metal's here.
Yeah.
So I could be listening to some blues stuff, some classic rock, a bit of kind of like traditional pop music or something like that, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good tune. The problem is, as soon as I hear like some momentum, it just like, oh, that's so much better. That's the problem, is it just lifts everything up. Now Mark's an interesting one, because he can play all the heavy metal stuff, right? He's really aggressive. He could do the double bass stuff unbelievably well. He's all over the kit. He's not actually an enormous metal fan, which is really, really peculiar. He liked music.
Yeah.
So he's a music fan. So he'll be sitting there talking about maybe like Pink Floyd, or talking about, maybe, I don't know, like a lot more progressive bands, maybe like Mars Volta. I know he's a big Mars Volta fan. So you're like, how can you play all this Slayer-esque stuff, but yet he'd never heard Rain and Blood, the full album? I was like, this doesn't make any sense in my head.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it. So he's a bit of an enigma.
I can certainly see him bringing a lot of different influences into the tunes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing the new music, as are quite a lot of new people as well. So, Bobby, with yourself being the vocalist of the band, then do you do the lyrics for all the songs, or do you welcome contributions from all the members of the band? Or
to be fair, when I joined like I said, when I joined the band the first time, a lot of the stuff was written.
Yeah,
there was maybe 2 or 3 songs that didn't have anything on them. Some of them, the lyrics hadn't been recorded, or on paper, and we were looking back at a couple of the old gigs, and we couldn't make it out because the sound wasn't that great on the recording. So we kind of, me and Jamie basically rewrote a few of them.
Yeah,
I think I've only done a couple maybe on my own. So it's essentially it's myself and Jamie that will do the lyrics, depending on what the song's about. To be fair, most of our songs are kind of either historical or fantasy kind of based, so it's like if Jamie knows about the subject and he's got it in his head, then he can rattle off lyrics quite quickly. I think same as anything in life, if you've got a really good interest in it, then it just flows really quickly, you know. If I was to sit and try and write lyrics about, I don't know, a video game that I don't really know much about, but Jamie does, then I would just let him do that. But he knows how to write the actual structure of the vocals that suits me, and then to be fair, whenever I get hold of the lyrics, I usually try and do like a James Hetfield kind of na 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 just in my head to try and get some sort of melody structure. And once I've got that, it's just a case of fitting in the words and trying to remember them.
Yeah. You've said James Hetfield a couple of times, so I take it he's a major influence on you then.
James Hetfield. Just a little bit. Yeah. No, he's probably one of my. I'd say in music, he's my hero. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's no many heroes in life, but yeah, he would be the one. I mean, I always thought, see if I ever meet him, he's probably a prick. But I mean, yeah, no. I definitely look up to him a lot. I when I was younger, I think I kicked the arse out it, and I tried to sing like him, and I don't think I'm as bad now. I think I've got my own kind of sound, but there's definitely wee growls and stuff that come out that are similar to him, you know. Well, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing.
I definitely like your vocal range, your clean singing as well as your more singing as well. So I like it, but with Jamie, he can pick up his guitar at any time. What about yourself? How are you keeping your vocal? How are you doing your training? Are you singing in the shower, singing in the car?
Absolutely, I sing every day, regardless. It's I'll do. It just depends. Sometimes I can probably overdo it, especially if I've been out and about driving to like Dundee or Aberdeen or something, then you end up singing for 3 hours, and it's probably not the best thing for your voice when you're sitting down. But yeah, generally I'll kind of sing every day, and it's funny because people kind of, it sounds a bit cheesy, but I listen to our own stuff quite a lot, and I think there's like a lot of bands would never really admit to that, but I listen to Nocturne Wulf songs quite a lot because I like them. Do you know what I mean? And I sing along to them, and that's how I think, going back to what we said earlier, but if you could do things differently, you listen to the album and you go, oh, I wish we could tweak that and tweak that. So when Trollhunter came about, it was a good exercise to try and change the sound on it. Yeah. And I think we made it sound louder, we made it sound heavier.
Definitely.
So it means that when we go to do our next stuff, we'll have a better idea of what we actually want it to sound like.
Yeah. I think I've read before as well, like it was a mixing and mastering that were causing the delays for things to be released. But as time goes on, have you guys learned a lot more of that? Well, Trollhunter is an excellent example of you've clearly learned, but the duration, was it shorter to get Trollhunter out this time?
I would say, yeah, there was a couple of things that held it up, which was nothing to do with the actual the process. Chris Horn, the lead guitarist, he's got a right good talent for it. He does a lot of it on Pro Tools himself.
Yeah,
and I think the good thing is that he can put up a draft, for example, and I've got quite a good ear for listening and knowing what I want. I'm not very good at trying to explain what it is I want. I'm more like a caveman, like hit it with a hammer and make it go like this. But I think like Jamie knows kind of, and the rest of the guys kind of know what I'm on about now. And so generally, if I say, right, that turn that down, or do this, do that, and then 2 drafts later, that's it, job done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then don't get me wrong, 6 months, a year later, you'll probably say, no, I wish we could have done that differently, you know. So I think that's the biggest conundrum for all the bands is once it's in the can, that's it. You've just got to leave it.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now that Mark's in the band, then the times that you were in the studio, then how are the songs constructed in the studio? So the main songwriters of the songs, or Nocturne Wulf, a band where all members contribute, is Mark starting to contribute as well then?
I think the way that the band, and just to slightly correct you, Nocturne Wulf not nocturnal. So
no, I was
fine.
pronouncing the E, nocturne. Sorry, nocturne.
Oh, right. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I've never thought about that before. Oh, that's quite nocturne. Okay, no, that's interesting.
I've read in another interview as well, it was nocturne, and they didn't even put the E on at the end, so I made sure I pronounced the E.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, I've never thought about that. Anyway, to go back to your question, I think the problem at the moment is because we've only really had that kind of one practice with Mark. You're kind of limited with what you can do. Yes, you can do remote. You know, like, oh, you can do your bit here, you can do your bit here. But I think the problem is that I don't think that Mark's had a huge stamp yet. I think that'll come once we're in a studio. The problem with us is I think we're a live band.
Yeah.
From the point of view is that you know, the recording process is quite interesting, and I think you can do some quite interesting stuff that I like it, but I don't live for recording. You know, I live for sitting in a room with other musicians. You know, that's more of my passion. Not saying that I don't enjoy recording, it's just that that's what I prefer. So I think when I get into a room with Mark, you know, you start to click. And the other big thing is, and I think this did scare Bob a wee bit, was that Mark is actually he's quite an annoying guy because he can play guitar, he can play drums, and he can also do a bit of singing. So I think there was kind of talk of saying, oh, I wonder what we could do, because I always felt that that was something that maybe we were lacking, was having that kind of backing vocal. Yeah. In the band. If you want someone to scream and shout something, I can do that, but put it into any sort of pitch, no, can't do that. So, but you know, Mark's I think Mark's quite good at doing that. So it's quite, because Mark's does play in another band, Divinators. They're a bit more kind of Mastodon-esque. Yeah. So all three of them basically kind of take a shot at singing. Yeah. So it's quite interesting to hear. So it'll be interesting to hear how Mark and Bob, you know, how they match up. I don't know, what do you think, Bob? What's your view on that?
Yeah, well, I've never been a fan of backing vocals anyway, because obviously Metallica never had any backing vocals. So,
there you go then.
But I think when I was doing the album recording, there was a couple of songs on there that I did some harmonies for, and it works. It does work really well. Yeah. So yeah, I'm one of these. I'm quite old fashioned, to be fair. I don't like changing things like that, you know. And the guys will suggest, oh, you know, like, let's get a saxophone, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, for sake, you know. Well, keep this simple, boys. Just play the guitars, play the drums, and get on with it.
Well, do you know what I was actually going to say, because you built that up well, and then you've just shot it down in flames, because there's nothing more than I like seeing a live band with more than one vocalist and more than one vocals, because it just adds so much to the song. But then again, your vocal range, you can add that. So it's not, your singing is not one-dimensional. So, but that's why I've seen Nile, and they've got 3 vocalists, and that's just brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Looking forward. So going on about the live stuff then, the live front, obviously you released your album July 2019. You got a chance to do some gigs, but were there some gigs in 2012 that you had to shelve? I talked to a lot of people, and it seems to be 2020 copy, 2021 paste, you know, but have things just been postponed, or have you actually had to cancel tours or something, a tour or something?
Nothing's been infringed on, because with me coming back into the band, and obviously Mark as well, it's been a bit of a reset, to be honest with you, in terms of, you know, whatever plans there were, it's kind of like, well, you know, we're just going to start again, basically. You know, because it's a different, the band's a different animal with me in it, and that's no offense to anybody else. It's just because the band's like my baby, you know, and it's like, and if I whatever I try and get involved with it, it's got to be all or nothing, you know. So if I come back in again, say, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So it's a difficult one this year, because obviously nobody knew, or nobody knows when we're coming back officially to gig. And a lot of this stuff, like you said, that was penciled in for last year has just forwarded on to this year. So realistically, you're planning, in my head, I'm planning 2022 for the likes of festivals and things like that. And then this year, just pick up as many gigs as we can and just, if there's an opportunity for a gig there, we do it, and that's it, regardless of where it is, because I think it's been that long since there's been a gig that people will be, keen to come out and watch it, and we'll be keen to play it as well. So it makes for a good atmosphere. I think in the past, I said this I did a podcast thing a few months ago, and I said, I think it was, the guy was like, "Oh, are you confident the gigs are coming back?" And I said, "Oh, definitely." I says, "I just hope that it doesn't go back to the way it was before, where you would maybe turn up to a gig and there'd be 3 people there or 12 people in their dug and that was it, I think if people need to learn it because of you've not had any live music for so long, you've been starved of it. So when it comes back, you need to get your arses out there and go and see them, And I'm guilty as well. I'll spend 100 quid on going to see Metallica, but the amount of times I've had arguments with people over a fiver for going to see 4 bands, you just can't make it up, really, can you? So I think that's one thing that I hope when we do come back properly, the punters will kind of remember that and turn up,
I definitely think you're right. They're definitely going to be spoiled for choice. I mean, you know what the Glasgow scene's like. You've got 4 clubs within like 100 yards of each other, and you can put on a gig every day of the week. But I think with what's been happening, I think the punters are going to be spoiled for choice and they'll go. And I hope that's going to be the case. And you'll certainly see an upturn in the attendance of gigs. Because the punter, we're screaming for it. You guys are screaming for it as well, to play and also to be at the other side of the fence and watch other bands as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully it'll happen. Hopefully it'll happen as soon as. I mean, what about rehearsing and stuff like that? Have you got any indication? Have you been given the go-ahead right on May the 15th? You can go back in or anything?
Am I correct in saying that? I don't know about this. Is 26th of April? I don't know. Are you allowed to rehearse then? I know that all non-essential shops can open, and in my head, I'm thinking, well, a non-essential shop would be like the studio. I don't know. I'm not sure. I need to look into that. I mean,
to be fair, I've kept an eye on it on the social medias. I think most of the studios, if they're not back already, they will be back end of the month.
Right.
The ones, we're quite fortunate. We've got our own studio, so we can essentially, if we're allowed to meet up, then we can go there anytime we want. So it's just a case of, I think if the other guys, if the bigger, Berkeley's and things are open, then it's good to go.
Yeah.
It's very confusing trying to figure out what's restricted and what's not. It's not been very clear. I've been talking to a few venue kind of managers and owners, and even now they've still not got a clue what the roadmap is for them. In terms of gigs are getting booked in and stuff, but still don't know if they're going to go ahead. We're just booking them, and fingers crossed that they do.
Well, I think this is the most positive it's been in a good number of months. So hopefully it's now light at the end of the tunnel, and let's get this sorted. Right, thanks a lot for that, guys. So obviously, because there's no live gigs at the moment, but you embraced the new phenomenon of virtual gigs, and you recently played the Breaking Bands virtual gig at the tail end of last year. I think it was Halloween. So is virtual gigs something that you're thinking of until you can play live again? Would you play another virtual gig? I don't think you were in the band at the time, Bobby, were you? No,
it was basically just to burst the bubble completely. It was basically a gig that the boys had done at Ivory's maybe, and we kind of converted it to MP4, and that was what they used. I've seen some bands using, doing the virtual thing. For me, it's I'm not bothered about it, to be honest with you.
No,
I don't. I mean, when if I'm in the rehearsal studio, I'll pretend that I'm playing in front of people anyway. But it's just I just no. I think it's like watching the football with no fans in. It's not the same. Do you know what I mean? So virtual's not for me anyway. I'm glad that I'm pretty sure the gigs will be back soon enough anyway. So
yeah,
I don't think that this virtual thing will last that much longer, to be honest with you.
yeah. Do you see
Especially for bands like us, to be, see if you're an acoustic or you're a pop or something like that, you can get away with it.
Yeah.
If it's all nicey, pleasant stuff, but not what we do. No.
Yeah. Do you share the same opinion, Jamie? Yeah.
I think that probably, if you asked me that question a year ago, I would have been probably said to you that would be the saving grace of what we could do, because no one could gig, no one's gigged in so long now that it depends which way you look at it.
Yeah.
Is something better than nothing?
Yeah.
Would I rather see bands have a really, really almost well filmed rehearsal? I mean, I quite enjoy that kind of stuff. It depends. If you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it will be. I don't know.
I can obviously see your guys' point of view. One way that I was looking at it as well was it was keeping your name out there and keeping them know that you're still alive, but you are very actively on social media anyway, so everybody knows that that you guys are doing okay. So yeah, I can see the advantages and disadvantages of it. But
that was the whole point of the Troll Hunter, to be fair. It was a good opportunity to try and get, because I'm back in again and it's my vocals that are on there anyway, it's just get something out there, because originally the plan was at the start of the year, because we've got plenty of new songs that we can start recording them, but
yeah,
obviously that opportunity has not been there. So it was actually Jay from Reaction that it was his idea, to be fair, and it's worked pretty well, to be honest with you. So
yeah. Talking about Reaction now, I know, Bobby, you might have a wee bit of a biased opinion here, but you're signed to Reaction Management. So how's the relationship been so far, and what would you like Reaction Management to do for the band?
Well, what I'll do is I'll ask that, because I have a different perspective than Bobby, obviously. I think the thing about it is first of all, when you sign up with a management company, I think that all bands think the same thing. Oh, we're going to go and play a massive gig with this band. I think that's the expectation. Oh, that's it. We're going to go and play with, say if you're a rock band, oh, we're going to go and play with support Whitesnake or whatever. It's not really, doesn't really kind of work that way. All it does is I feel as if it kind of opens up avenues to different directions, because us as a band, you know a few people, but with Reaction, obviously they deal with it. It's mostly Jay, and he obviously knows a lot more people. So you can tap into, oh, I know somebody who's a good photographer. Oh, I know somebody who does this. I know somebody who does that. Opportunities can arise that way. But I think the important thing I think about it is a management company should be used as a consultancy. And I think that's what a lot of bands don't quite kind of get. It's more like you'll sit down and you'll discuss things, and they'll give you a bit of direction, for example, and like the Troll Hunter thing was actually the Reaction. That was Jay's idea. He was like, well, Bob's in the band, there's nothing we can really do too much at the moment. Why don't we get a song that's sharp, that's maybe not been really heard too much from the album, and we can put it out. So that was a consultancy idea. Does that make sense then? So it was more, it's not like you sit down and they go, right, okay, so you're a heavy metal band, so you can go and now play with Exodus. You go, oh, okay, great, that's fine. It doesn't kind of work that way. But obviously my perception, it will be slightly different from Bob. So we'll see what he says.
No, I'm very similar, to be fair. I think it, it's quite unique for me, because I can see it from both sides of being a manager, agent, and then being an artist in the roster. I think the word roster's really good, because it's like a big family, basically. So every band in the roster kind of supports each other.
Yeah,
which I really noticed it quite early on.
Ritual Spirit had good words to say about you guys.
Yeah, I mean they're great. They're great guys, and even even going back to the start when there's a local band, the Renains, which we would never have met in a month of Sundays if I wasn't being on the same roster, because they're a completely different style of music to us. But to this day, I still keep in touch with them, and they support us and we support them. It's a really good networking opportunity. Right at the moment, Reaction, well, they started kind of at the turn of the year, but they're doing all the PRs getting done in-house now as well. So the numbers we've received for Troll Hunter, for example, it's blown anything we've done previously out the water. And that was, we used external PR for other things, and this has just went, you know, crazy. And in terms of, it's amazing the difference in how much more Spotify streams we've got and things like that. So from that point of view, it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. It's a tough one. I'm always quite honest with the guys that I speak to about maybe coming on board with myself or you know, the roster. You know, there's no magic fix straight away. There's a relationship to be built up with the manager and the band that could take a year, it could take 2 years. But when it does click, then things start to happen. So you could get a bit impatient, which I tend to be quite a lot in life, that you think, no, I need to move faster. I need things to work a little bit quicker. But it gets to a point where before you even realise it, things are happening.
Yeah.
And like, we've got a good relationship with Jay, and he kind of gets us now as well. So it's when it gets to that point, it just becomes a whole lot easier. You know, you just say to him, he knows what we want essentially, and where we want to be. You know, so. But it's basically having an extra member of your band. You know, that's essentially what it's all about. So
how long have you been with Reaction?
Basically, when I stopped singing with the band, I think it was about 2 months later, I jumped on with Reaction, because I couldn't leave it alone, if you know what I mean. I still wanted to. When I was in the band originally, most of the gigs that we put on or any of the anything to do with booking or thing like that, I kind of got involved with most of that. So something I quite enjoyed anyway. And then I mean, now, same as any job, but when you walk into it, it's not as simple as booking a gig for a band and everything's great. There's a lot more to it, you know. But and there's also the fact that, like, I noticed it with the divinators. I've got the divinators on with me, and they're a bit less experienced in terms of you know, recording and gigging, for example. So it's nice to offer advice to them from the management side, but also from the fact that I'm still going to be out there doing it as well, you know.
Yeah.
And it's good for me because it makes me have to be on top of my game as well, you know, which is, it's a good driver. You know?
Mm-hmm. So with the wave of the world in the last year and such, it's made you look at the band and the business side, more on the business side of the band, like doing new merch and stuff like that, that maybe the time that you didn't have before, you've now got that time, so you're concentrating on the band as a business and keeping your name out there and that type of thing.
Yeah. I mean,
on you go, Jamie.
I was just going to say that I think that for, you know, I think what it's given is it's realised the importance of social media. You know, you look at, for example, like just take, because we're involved in it, look at the Glasgow metal scene. It's interesting to see in this past year how many bands have kept going and how many bands have kind of sort of fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
You know, there's some bands that I think, you know, it's a shame because, you know, you're either in this to kind of do the full package. You know, you want to do the merch, you want to do the you know, the interviews, you want to do the things. But I think some bands, you know, it's some guys who all they want to do is, and I don't mean this remotely disrespectfully, but some guys, what they want to do is they want to meet up with their friends once a week, have a jam every month, go and have a gig and have a good night out. And that is absolutely fine. I'm totally like pro that. That's great. But I think that experience has been taken away from a lot of them. And a lot of them are thinking, what's the point? Whereas there's other bands that have kind of thought, right, well, we've got an opportunity here. Online is where everything is. So ironically enough, what you were saying about the virtual gigs, again, it depends which way you look at that, because obviously it's the online thing. But I think that it's given us a bit of time. Really, for me, it's given a lot of time to do the music side. I think the thing is, there's not been a rush as well. We've not been thinking, oh, we've got this deadline that we need to do this by, we need to get that, we need to get, merch for this gig, we need to get all this stuff out for then. It's been a wee bit more, dare I say, pleasant, which is maybe not the right word to describe this time period.
Yeah.
So I think it's been an interesting one, because to go back to any other question, this has been a golden opportunity for us, in terms of, and I kept saying I don't want us to piss this time up against the wall, because we've got such a good opportunity to do things. And I think, Jenny, on the whole, I think we've done all right. So, I think the online things has been really, really big, but hopefully when things kind of go back to normal, it's just going to go and explode. And that's for all bands.
Yeah.
There's a good atmosphere in the band at the moment, to be fair. And what I love about Nocturne Wulf is that everybody's kind of got a role, and, we all kind of work hard at or each individual kind of sections on it, so like just when you mentioned merch recently, like Stephen, the bass player, he's organised his new t-shirts, and his partner Sophie, she designed the actual the graphics on it, and we've sold quite a lot of them already, to be fair, and it's great. It just feels like things are starting to move again, just a simple thing like having a decent t-shirt, having the CD that's still available for a good price, and I think it takes your band to a different level, and it kind of seems routine, because a lot of other bands have already, they already do it anyway. But I think for us, we had to get our finger out and do that, and we're, all of a sudden gigs aren't back yet, but we've got a lot of new songs. We've got the opportunity to get recording done. We've got merch, and by the time the gigs come back, what we feel is we've got a pretty good lineup in the band as well. We all get on with each other. We all and we all kind of click musically as well. So yeah, I'm quite excited for the future, to be fair.
I can hear it in your voice. You're just like ready and raring to go, just the same as everybody.
I think
else.
that's the problem. I don't hold back anyway. But I think the first gig back, I'm going to actually self-combust, to be honest with you.
Well, you've been talking about online quite a lot there, but that takes me beautifully on to my next question then. So, before the internet, magazines and fanzines were the places to find out about new bands and trends, but now publications have been replaced with thousands of websites catering for all genres. So do you think that some of the passion's been lost, or do you think that the internet's been a good thing for music and a good thing for Nocturne Wulf?
For music, that's an interesting one, because I think for most of us I grew up just before the internet became the mainstream of everything. And I mean, I rightly or wrongly, I picked up an album by a band called Iced Earth. Now, obviously, at the moment, there's a lot of controversy going around them, but the point of the story is that I remember looking at the album and thinking, "Wow, that looks so cool!" And I bought it, and I took it home, and it was a winner. Now, I have done it a few times where I bought a few albums, and I was like, this is a bit of a stinker. But do you know what? It was cool, because you looked at the product, and I think the problem is that, like, I think with a lot of bands now, I think that things are so pigeonholed. Like, you're this band, you're that band, you're in that genre, you're in that genre, which is fine, because you kind of need to know what you're going in for. But there's no, like, going into a record shop and going and looking at, like, oh, that looks really, really cool. I mean, if you've got a guy there, who's standing on a dragon with a head on it with a sword and a shield, you think, oh, that's, when you're like 14, you're like, oh, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I need to get that. Or the front cover of, like, Number the Beast.
That's the very first album I bought, by the way. I've still got the yellow cassette in there because of the cover. Exactly, because of the cover.
I was going around in my work last week with a picture of it going, by the way, imagine being 13, 14 and seeing that picture. And all the girls in my work, even them, were like, yeah, that's actually really, really cool. You know, it's like that. I think that the essence of that's lost. The problem is like when people think of modern albums, I think they think of like the Spotify playlist for it rather than thinking the front cover.
Yes.
You know, when I think of when I'm thinking of like, I don't know, like whatever albums you're kind of thinking of, you think of the front cover, like Anthrax or something like that. You think of, like that, or think of Eddie or something like that on the, you think, oh, that's really cool. And I think that's been lost a bit. On the flip side though, rightly or wrongly, music's now become so easy to consume, which is good because you've got access to everything, but it also does mean that our attention span is really low. Because I think the problem is like, and here's a question for you. When was the last time that you bought an actual CD or album and listened through all the tracks? When was the last time you actually did that? Because most people will listen to bits now. So
I had to burst your bubble yesterday.
Yesterday. Well, no, but that's great. No, that's really good to hear though. That's still a thing, because I would hazard that most people would go. Most people who I've asked in the past couple of years, what was the last CD you bought? Go like this. CD. I don't know. So it's good to hear that the people still listen to CDs. But do you know the point I'm kind of trying to make there?
Definitely. Yeah. What about yourself, Bobby? What do you think?
I just think that, as much as I don't like change, I'm quite good at moving with the times, and I just think that the internet's the way it is. So I've had arguments with guys that are old school that have got a lot of vinyl and stuff, and they say to me, "Oh, do you buy CDs and vinyl and that?" And I say, "No, I don't, because I've got my phone. I just put Spotify on, and rightly or wrongly, it's so easy. So it's just that's just the way it is. That's the reason why big bands charge so much for a ticket to go and see their gig, because
it's only
they'll charge 50 quid for a hoodie because that's where they make their money. It's not I remember being a boy and starting, I started work at 16, and every week you were in HMV just buying CDs. It was brilliant, but you buy Metal Hammer and Kerrang magazine every month, because that's where you find out what was going on. Because I was fortunate, that was before, mobile phones and internet, so it was great. And then, but the way it is now, I mean, it's funny. My boy's 5 years old, right, and he's a little metaler, and he loves Glory Hammer. And it's funny because when you play it in the car, the actual album cover comes up on the screen on the dash, and you can just see his eyes straight away. He's just staring at this. You'll see like the Rain and Blood front cover, and he knows straight away, and he goes, Slayer. I'm like, yep. But he knows these front covers and you could see like the wee guy. I don't know what Exodus album it is, but it's the wee guy playing the harpsichord and looks like somewhere in Transylvania or something like that. But they're just drawn to it. They love it, absolutely love it. Even the Black Album, he sees the wee snake in the corner, and he's like, oh my God, what's this all about? It's such a simple, but I suppose the Black Albums are like that's a good example for me, because you see that you can't forget that, you know what I mean? As soon as you hold that CD in your hand, it's like, it's such a simple thing, but it works really well. Master of Puppets as well with the headstones, it's like just such unique artwork. And I think there is lost. I was quite amazed. It's funny when you were talking about that, just to see like his reaction to it is probably the exact same reaction that we had. It's just in a different format now,
That's it.
Wow.
That's it. But did you notice, Jimmy, he brought it back to Metallica once again? But anyway, no, it's
honestly, it's everything.
What colours? What's our album cover? It's black, isn't it?
Black. Look. We're in McDonald's, right? We're in McDonald's, and I've got the chips that are yellow and red, and he's like, yellow and red kind of looks like Master Puppets. See, it doesn't matter where you are. It always comes back to Metallica.
But just to put a final tack on it, it's definitely a double-edged sword. I mean, I grew up obviously a lot younger than, I'm a lot older than yourself, so there was nothing better back in the day of sending £2 or £3 away for a demo tape, and then a couple of days later you get it. You would open up, stickers would fly out, you would get a letter from the band, you would listen to the demo tape, and you go, don't know if I like that, but because you're invested in it, you would listen to it again, and then make up your mind. Whereas now you can go onto Spotify, 10 seconds, oh no, that's pish. Next track, so it can be dismissive. But I mean, you can now record a whole album in your own bedroom now. So there's good things and there's bad things, but
I think just on the kind of last thing about that, I think possibly maybe the preciousness of music has slightly been lost, maybe. With that, like you feel as if you've invested in that demo. You think, whether that demo is good or bad, you've spent the money, you're going to listen to it, and then you could end up really, really liking that. And I think that's maybe been lost. Maybe that's what I've, was trying to say.
I grew up when we were saying like CDs should be burned. I mean, it was cassettes and vinyl, and no CDs. But listen, this is the part where we talk about the instruments that you play. So we'll start off with yourself, Jamie. What's your make and model of a guitar? What's your pedals?
I'll come back in 10 minutes, sorry.
Well, to be fair, we've only got 7 minutes left.
Look, I can't. Look, I have used so many bloody instruments, right? Different guitars, different amps, different everything. I don't know. I mean, if you put a gun to my head, Gibson Les Paul or Flying V. But I mean,
so we're going to record the next Nocturne Wulf album tomorrow. What would you take in?
I would probably take in. I've probably my main gigging guitar at the moment, even though we're not gigging, is it's an ESP Gary Holt from Slayer Exodus. That has probably been the one I've used the most.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I've got a Gibson Les Paul that I've had for about 15, 16 years. That's probably that's always kicking about as well.
So if you're going on a 5-6 day tour, those two guitars will be the ones that you'll take with you?
Don't know, because they're like they're more recording guitars, or maybe if you're doing like a home gig, I don't think I'd be happy taking like those kind of instruments away, just because they're quite good instruments. So I tend to usually have like, this sounds ridiculous, sounds really pretentious, but I usually have like the kind of whatever model it is, and then I usually get like have a backup. So like, for example, for the Guy Holt, I use like the red ESP one, but as the backup I use like an LTD one, like the kind of import model. And that works for me. I mean, to be honest, any guitar that's got EMGs jammed in it, pickups, I could probably use it, to be honest.
6 or 7 string?
Always 6.
Yes, yeah.
Always 6 string. I think you could count on one hand the minutes I've played a 7 string. I don't really play 7 string. On saying that, I have played baritone, so I have played that, but I don't like having 7 strings because it confuses me. I'd rather play a baritone 6 strings, but have a longer scale. I think that's probably that.
Excellent, thanks for that, Jamie. Now, Bobby, what about yourself? Like, have you went through a whole range of like microphones before you're satisfied with the one that you're currently using, maybe in the studio and stuff like that, or are you just don't care, just give me a microphone and I'm fine? Or do you?
No. For most of my life I used a Shure 58, but the problem was I used to hit my teeth off the grill.
Okay.
Which is really off-putting halfway through a line, because it hurts, right? And then so Jamie said to me when I joined the band, he's like, well, Metallica used the Shure, the 55s. Would you not fancy using one of them? And I was like, absolutely. So I ended up with a silver one that they used to use. And then I just saw they've got black ones now. So I went and got a black one. So to be fair, the black one's a Super 55, which is a super cardioid. And just fell in love with that microphone straight away, obviously. But I love it. I love it because it's flat facing. can't really do any damage to myself. Probably do damage to other people if it ever slipped out my hand right enough. But it's quite a heavy one. It's like a bit of a hammer, but it sounds a bit pretentious, but it's kind of like that's my thing. You know what I mean? When we're on stage, I've got the black 55, but actually, performance-wise, it's a brilliant microphone. It's really good. Yeah, I probably wouldn't go back to using like the 58 style. I'd always stick with the Elvis style mic.
See, I always find it interesting speaking to vocalists about that, you know. So thanks very much for your input there. But we've only got 2.5 minutes left. But just to say, Troll Hunter has already been played in BHP radio. I'm part of a team. I just had my first DJ session on Tuesday night there, and Troll Hunter was requested by the manager of the radio station itself. So you've certainly got new fans over at BHP radio as well.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
We're also part of a podcast team as well. Mark has also got a radio station in America as well. So we'll share the shit out of it because it's worth sharing. So regarding social media then, where will we find you guys on social media?
So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. We do have a Twitch and a TikTok as well, so funnily enough, which are not used as much at the moment, but definitely stable. Instagram and Facebook are the and Twitter, to be fair, Twitter's pretty good, to be fair, at the moment, actually. So yeah.
And I know that you've got a YouTube channel as well, because I've subscribed to
Right.
Well, thank you very much.
Brilliant.
You're welcome. Listen, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
I always look at your Facebook page, and I'll be looking forward to seeing when you're going to be playing live again, because you'll probably find me at the bar anyway. So I'll be looking forward to seeing you live. All right. So I wish you guys the best of luck, and get the new tunes out soon as you can. Right.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, right. Take care.